Going to do is go into. Oh, it looks like somebody wants to record me and tell me how great we're doing. All right, so just ignore that little pop-up. So today what we're going to do is go into the next panel if we could. All right, maybe it's just on my screen, so I'm just going to try and get rid of this. A little advertising here. All right, so when we're looking at starting a business, typically what happens is a lot of people will come in to see us and say, I've got an idea, but the question is we need to define that idea. So when we think about it, and we skip to the next thing is what do you see? What is your vision for this business? Have you always dreamed of having a retail boutique or kiosk? Have you always been working with your hands and like to be a mechanic? What is your vision? What are you trying to accomplish here? Because a lot of times when we think about starting a business, we see all the good stories on some of the TV shows, but we don't necessarily see some of the negative impacts. And what we do have to take our vision to the next level to say, all right, what are we going to do? So what are we going to do? Are we going to be a service-based business? Are we going to be a retail-based business? Are we going to be an online type business, which we see much more and more nowadays? And then who is our customer? Who are we actually trying to do business with? Are we a business-to-business type of, I'm using these acronyms here, B2B. Are we focusing on a business-to-business relationship where the sales cycle might be longer and we have to really define our market and become expertise in a certain market? Or are we looking at business to consumer, such as your traditional Main Street retail business where, there's the people coming in and they're the end user of the product and they provide the feedback. So such things as food services and your typical, coming in to fix your home repair and all those types of things. So we have to start with that vision. But the thing is the vision is not the idea, and the vision is not really doesn't answer all the questions we have. We have to take a deeper dive. So fundamental questions we have to ask ourselves, because starting a business is all about control. It's all about moving forward and creating something for ourselves. So we have to ask ourselves: are we looking to create a living wage to supplement maybe our employed income in our career? Or are we looking to create a part-time job, something to supplement our existing income? Or are we transitioning from the employment sector to the self-employment sector, but we want to do it on a gradual basis? Some people want to go to 0 to 1,000 miles an hour. Other people want to take a more methodological approach to it. So we have to ask ourselves these questions. If we're used to making $60,000 a year from our employer, is this business going to be able to turn that over and create us with $60,000 of income as a business owner? What is your long-term goals? Are you going to be happy with just creating a living wage for yourself and your family and maybe some friends with creating some jobs? Or are you looking to create an empire? I've had clients come in and say, I'm going to be the next Google. I'm going to be the next Yahoo. Are we realistic in our approach? Again, we always need to ask ourselves, what is the end game? Are we happy to have a small automobile shop in Cayuga, or do we want to have a series of auto shops across the country and create a new Pet Boys model? What is it we're trying to do? Do we want to be a leader in our industry? Do we want to be an influencer? We see lots of people online trying to influence people, creating this spin and all this kind of stuff. Or are we happy just doing our own thing, being the guy who can fix your air conditioner or your heating system on a simple phone call? Avery, if you could do the next one, thanks. So what we want to do is ask ourselves, do we have the skills to deliver this product and service? So it's our readiness in moving forward. I mean, for example, I've always wanted to be the captain of a charter sailboat. Do I have the skills to do it? Yes, I probably do. Do I have the credentials? Well, maybe not. So do we have to upgrade our skills in order to meet the needs of this industry that we're looking at? In other words, have we worked in this industry before, or is this something new that we've never done before in our lives? That creates an extra barrier for starting a business. In most cases, people will start businesses in something that they have some either experience in, whether it's from working as a career or a job in the past, or a personal passion of something that they enjoy doing. And if you're lucky, you'll get something of both. Not always tend to get the big win of doing something that we've done in our career and something that we personally enjoy doing. But if you can find that niche, that business that meets that need, then hey, why not? We also have to take a personal inventory of our personal skill set in doing this business. So we may have these skills to make soap. So let's say we're going to be a soap boutique producer and producer and boutique. So now we have to ask ourselves, okay, I have the skills maybe from making soap. I'm sure, and that takes quite a skill set. But do I have the skills in order to sell the soap, in order to develop the production process, in order to deal with the just-in-time inventory? Do I have the sales skills? And this is probably from my experience in, I have to say for the 30 years I've been doing this, I keep reminding myself how old I am, is do we have everything it takes? Sales skills, probably the weakest skill set I see in most businesses is we do the build of dreams model, build it and they will come. We need to be able to sell the product. In other words, if you have the passion, you understand the benefits that it provides to your customer, because customers are looking for two things, either a solution to a problem or a benefit. That's the key to sales, is to be able to get that message out on how you can provide a benefit or solve a problem for a customer. So do you have that? Do you have that personal inventory set of skills? Same goes with bookkeeping and accounting. How many people, and I usually do it in a public session or in a classroom session, I would do a show of hands. How many people actually do their own monthly budget? And usually it's about 10% of the people attending. I'm not singling anybody out here. So the reality is if you're not doing your own budget every month, you better get used to doing it every month or every week for your business, because that's the critical element for success. So do you have the financial accounting bookkeeping skills, or do we need to take a course in order to upgrade our skills to meet that need? Or do we look at the opportunity cost to say, okay, well, maybe now I have to contract a service provider to solve my problem. And then we also identify that as a cost to the business. So remember, everything you do in this business idea has an opportunity cost. Lots of business owners say, I'm going to do it myself, strap the bootstraps on, it's going to be tight, and that's perfectly fine. But if you're looking to expand and work on the business rather than in the business, you have to start taking accountability for all these items and figuring out how you're going to solve these problems. So if you're not a bookkeeper, how are you going to solve your problem? Because here's the key to business. You're not just providing benefits and solutions for your customers, you're doing the same thing for yourself each and every day. So ask yourself a fundamental question. Why do I want to start this business? Is it to make money? Is it to create jobs for the community? Is it for my own sense of well-being? In most cases, it's about money and control. And as long as we're honest about that, then we're fine. So we defined thank you, Avery, that's great timing, by the way. What we need to do is we define the idea. And the thing is that's where we start. We have an idea, now we have to start digging deeper. So it's not just saying, my buddy says I make the best roast beef in the world and I should start a roast beef restaurant. That's, it's nice to hear. It's wonderful to get support from friends and family, but are they going to buy roast beef dinners from you every night? Probably not. So we need to take it to the next level, which is market research. So taking market research, we divide it into and this is probably the most time-consuming, yet the most important element of business planning or focusing on developing a business idea. First, we have to discover who is our customer, who is our target market. And it depends. I mean, every industry has a key component of customers that they're actually after. So you see gluten-free bakeries. Well, we know that a gluten-free bakery is people with celiac and sorry, I don't remember all the other terms, but have gluten intolerances, things like that. We know that those bakeries are focusing on that target market. Now, does that target market have different needs than traditional bakeries? Yes, we know that. The question is, what can we do that's better or different than your traditional bakeries besides that? We have to identify our competition. Believe it or not, competition is good for business. Without competition, you have to question ourselves is, if there's no one else doing this business, is there a market to be had? I've had many people saying, well, you know what, no one else is doing this. If I do it, I'm going to get 100% of the market. Well, 100% of zero is zero, right? So we have to understand that competition is a good thing. If you look at all the fast food restaurants, you notice they're all on the same street. Well, there's a reason. They feed off their competition. People might decide that they're hungry for some, we'll call it fast food, and they may not know necessarily which one they want to go to until they drive along that road, and then it triggers and they go for the impulse sale. So it gives them an opportunity that even if they aren't persuaded to go to one particular competitor, that they may go to another. Look at the industry trends. So when we look at industry trends, what's changing? We've seen change in a rapid pace over the last 2 years, on how some businesses have been able to pivot and either go online or provide different ways of delivering their services to their customers. They've also figured out different ways to solve their problems of delivery and fulfillment of customers. And so what we've seen is this trend is changing dramatically, and we really need to understand is what are the trends in the industry, but also the trends of the consumer industry. We see more consumers buying stuff online than we've ever seen before in the history of, well, as far as we go back. So what we need to understand is take a look at this kind of stuff and say, all right, if we see more people buying stuff online, or we see a transition, yet we still have, being in a rural economy such as Haldimand County, is we may need to cover both bases and say, okay, we have to have a small storefront or physical space in order to meet our part of our target market or our secondary target market, because we have a primary target market, the people who buy our stuff all the time. Then we have our secondary target market, they may buy it on occasion. And then we have the tertiary market, people that just sort of show up and we never even thought of them. We can learn a lot from these people. So look at the trends, look at things like that. And then take a look at statistics. One thing that we have in Canada, we do have a bit of an advantage compared to some other countries, is we do have a fairly robust statistical database in Ottawa. And some of it is you have to pay for, but some of it can be available free of charge. One particular program I'll mention to you is called Super Demographics, which is a great program. It's available at some of the public libraries. If they don't have it, they'll be able to find it somewhere. But it's a great way to break down different geographical areas by gender, by income, by home ownership, by spending patterns. And we can actually look at how much money they spend on a certain type of product or service on an annual basis, which gives us a good idea of the total market value of a particular area. Thank you, Avery. So continuing it on, so we have two types of market research that we need to investigate moving forward. We break it into two different categories. We have primary market research, and this is stuff that we do ourselves on our own time, our own nickel. And then secondary market research, such things as Statistics Canada and other publications and periodicals that are available. We may have to pay for access for them, but it could be things like that we Super Demographics, it may be worthwhile if it's a large enough project that we need to get that information. So personal interviews with industry players. So if you're in a particular industry, if we're talking about soap making, for example, is there a association of soap makers in Ontario or Canada? Sometimes you start with Canada and work your way down to Ontario, or even work it down to a regional search to find out who are the players. These are the people who have an arm's length relationship with this industry, and they're going to tell you who the big players are. Who you may have to buy a membership, but you're going to get the real information on exactly what's happening in that industry at the particular time. Some people will do individual surveys with potential customers, or with for example, some people, I've had clients say, I make the greatest cakes and all my friends and family buy my cakes, and they provide and they can provide you with some information. But if you want to do a paper survey in order to go out in the public and say, well, let's see how many people would actually want to buy my cheesecakes. Mystery shopping is a great one. Years ago, I was with an organization in the United States. We had a division called Industrial Espionage. And what we would do is we actually do mystery shopping on our competitors, getting all the information on their pricing, on their product placement, on their sourcing, on their new marketing initiatives in order to maintain a competitive advantage. Mystery shopping on a smaller local level is very, very useful, because a lot of times we will see individuals in small economies will use customer service as the differentiation point or the unique selling proposition for their business compared to a competitor, saying we excel in customer service or delivery or personal touch, whatever we want to call it. So what you can do is go in as a customer and or send, if people know who you are, send a friend or family member as a customer with a kind of a list of questions for them to consider, not to ask at the store, but actually to get the information and then bring it back to say, well, what was the experience like? And look for the pros and cons and look for opportunities that may arise from that. Another way to do primary market research is to actually test market your product. If you can build a few, take it out in the marketplace, set up a kiosk, whether it be at a farmer's market, if it's food related or whatever, or if you know another retailer, or set up an online store. Digital Service Squad can certainly help you with that kind of stuff. Is what you want to do is test market to see, is there a market? All right. If there is no market and we can't really do a whole lot of market research, right? People say it's not available. Well, let's see if it is. Maybe you got the new fish hook that's going to catch all the pickerel in the lake. Well, hey, let's test it to see if it actually works. And taking it to the next level, which is a little bit more costly and time consuming, is test focus groups and things like that. More on an advanced level for expansion. Thank you. So looking at secondary market research, as we mentioned, these are published and available for free, mostly, again, but sometimes there is a cost. Statistics are fantastic. Trade journals, there's magazines and journals on just about every industry. Everyone's got an opinion to tell how your industry is going, and it's just good to keep on top of that. Trade associations is an excellent program, is an excellent way to look at it. These are the people, like I said, have an arm's length relationship and they know what's going on. Scott's Industrial Directory, if you're doing business to business, looking at industrial work and looking for large organizations, you can get contact information as well as financial information on large organizations. It is a pay for service, but if you're taken to the next level, then it's probably money well spent. And then, as I mentioned earlier on, Super Demographics, which is great for retail and looking at business to consumer marketplaces, is a fantastic tool to actually see the spending in the areas. So as we continue this market research, we're going to define and then redefine our business model based on all this information that we've gathered. So are we going to be a home-based business or commercial-based business? Have a retail storefront? We see more and more home-based businesses just because of the sheer cost of acquiring commercial space is very costly, especially for a startup. So again, that brings us back to that question: do we start as a very small micro business with small steps towards becoming a larger business, continuing working in the employment sector, and then building this on a part-time basis, or are we going to go whole hog? Our market research should either validate or disvalidate our assumptions. And then if it does disvalidate, that's when we go back and we rework the model, we work the idea, and we do research all over again. So this is actually a decision-making point to say whether we're going to continue on this or do we need to go back and refine this. Again, is it service-based or product-based? If it's product-based, then we have to look at where we're getting, whether are we manufacturing this stuff or are we sourcing it offshore? What's our supply chain? And we know that in today's current marketplace, supply chain is a real challenge. So we have to look at those different pros and cons of that. Are we in the tech sector? Again, that seems to be moving quite rapidly. Are you an expert in tech? Probably are if you're in the tech sector. If not, well, then you're probably hiring people that are. But again, that becomes some management things to look at. And then we'll have to look at the business structure based on the marketplace, based on the business we're trying to accomplish, whether it's retail, whether it's online. What's our personal risk tolerance? We need to discuss that, which we will look at later on in this presentation. So we've defined the idea, we've done our market research, and now we have to delve into business planning, because we can't start at business planning because we have nothing to actually put into it. Now we've actually done some research, we've developed some ideas. So we have to ask ourselves, what are we going to do with this business plan? Because a lot of people look at it as a writing exercise. And most of us, like me included, since university or school haven't done a lot of writing. Most of us do 140 character text nowadays, right? So now we have to go in a bit of a paradigm shift into writing, but don't look at it as a writing exercise. Let's just get the information in there. So basically your business plan is your business or your personal and your business roadmap. So I'll use Jenna as an example. Jenna is here. She's got an idea. She's going to move forward. So this is going to be her roadmap to say, okay, these are all the steps that Jenna's going to need to take to make this thing work, right? And it's also going to show any potential roadblocks or things that we didn't address through that process. So it's your roadmap. It's going to keep you on track. I call it a working document because the business is never static. As you move forward, as you get into the introductory phase of your business, you'll find that you're moving to the growth stage. Things are going to change. Suppliers are going to change. So we need to be prepared for that. So your business plan is not just to get financing, as in the second point. It's your persuasive document for getting financing. If you're going to go to one of the big 5 banks or come to the Grand Erie Business Center, you need to be able to present this in a way that it explains to the reader everything about this business, because you need to assume that the reader knows nothing about your business or your industry or you. So here we are trying to sell ourselves and what we bring to the table, our idea, and we're asking for money. So you can see why it needs to be pretty comprehensive and fairly detailed. As I mentioned earlier, it's your go-to document for follow-up. Things are going to change. And you're going to learn more about your industry and your business. As you develop it, as you do the market research, you're going to have a few what we call aha moments. We say, oh, I had no idea that was involved. I had no idea that that's where those products came, or if this was a certain component of this product that's hard to find, or that somebody has 100% of the market on that and makes it really difficult to compete. So these are the types of things you need to ask yourselves in the business plan. So why do we do the business plan? Is to learn about your business. Again, you might have a good idea, a good understanding, but when we get working every day in a certain industry, we tend to get tunnel vision. We only kind of worry about the job that we do at our job. What we now have to do, we have to learn about all the different elements. Who's our insurance carrier? What coverage do we have? All these types of things. We have to set personal goals. Because what we have to understand is when you open a business, it's not just, starting a business and working 8 to 5, like we may have in our previous work world. So what is our personal goals? How are we going to be able to balance? And again, we look at running a business as juggling, right? We're keeping a bunch of balls up in the air. So we're adding another fairly large ball to keep balanced up in the air. So we have to make sure this balances with our family goals. Are our family on board? Are they going to be able to help balance some of these balls if you're working 16-hour days? So again, what is your personal goals? Is it to create again, going back to the original question, are you trying to create an empire?